Hey everybody, welcome to the Age of Reason podcast with Mike, Alex, and Nick. This is episode 69. What's going on, you guys?
Not much, brother. Just trying to avoid the heat over here.
I'm not jealous. It's like 75 over here right now.
It's nice where I am too, but I feel you, Alex. I live close, so I know what it's like.
Well, you'd be sweating in my 75-degree weather over here.
No, I know. I sweat when it's above 65. So. 65 is room temperature to me.
All right, well, we got quite a bit to discuss, and we actually have some news. We've done quite a bit of work on some on the website and kind of reevaluated where we're going with this, and we started a GoFundMe, what's it called, campaign, as well as a Patreon. You can reach the GoFundMe page at the Donate Now link that has been added to the header of our website. So we've been doing this. We started in October, even though our episodes came up in December of 2015. We started in October of 2015, and we've pretty much made this work off just a few $100, really, of equipment. And if you guys haven't figured this out already, we're never in the same room while we're doing this. Even when we have Nick on, we do all of this through Skype, and we try to give the illusion that we're together. But in order to do that, we need to up our game on our technology. So we started a GoFundMe campaign for $1,500, which will go into helping us rebuild the website, but also getting some more technology for you guys out there in California and bringing better sound quality. And we also want to look into a few other things. We may have video podcasting coming up soon, if we can make that happen. No promises yet, but that's what we're looking for.
So you can officially see how ugly we all are.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I thought these guys had no clue what they're talking about. Now they really look like dipshits. But
yeah, for all of our listeners, think of the sound of our voice and then knock it down like 5 notches, and maybe you're right where we
that
look.
Is just suggesting. Wait, is that suggesting that they think we have sexy voices, or are we already operating at a low standard?
I don't think I have a sexy voice. I mean, you've got a little bit of maybe some deep, sexy stuff going on, but
bass, baby.
As far as I go, I know that I'm not a sexy voice.
Alex has probably got the sexiest voice out of the three of us.
Oh, that's sweet, but.
So anyway, check it out. Actually, Nick, I'm gonna throw it over to you to talk about Patreon. But for GoFundMe, I was just gonna say again.
I'm gonna talk about GoFundMe too. So.
I'm throwing it to you then. You take over.
All right, yeah. So you can get the GoFundMe link on our website. You can get it on Facebook, and if you contact us on Twitter, I'll tell you how to find it too, if that's what you so desire. We're not asking for a lot of money, and we're certainly not expecting somebody to just donate $1,500. But with $1,500, we can get some new equipment. We can get everything upgraded. The sound's going to be a lot better. We'll be able to take care of some bugaboo issues that we've had with the website and the technology stuff. And then also, we started a Patreon, which is also available through the website and on Facebook. You can find out where to go from there. And basically, every podcast costs money to run every month, and ours certainly is no exception to that. And it's not very expensive, but if we could get a little bit of money each month, it would keep us from having to start relying on ad revenues, and we could continue to bring you this and expand it even, going into, like Mike mentioned, possibly doing some video stuff and doing some side stuff. We've talked about doing other side projects, little bonus projects and whatnot. And on the Patreon, we've actually set up a little reward system on there. So if you, if you send us $1, we will give you a shout out on the podcast. And the levels go up from there. There's some exciting stuff on there. One of them is I will take your name and put it into a politics or religious-based Mad Lib and read it on air, so everybody can hear about you. And then our top giveaway is actually being a guest on the show, whether we have you on with us, all three of us, or I call you up and interview you. Of course, this is also based on your ability to, Skype in with us to be able to record you. There's a few technical issues, but it shouldn't be too difficult to work out. So yeah, go check it out. We would really appreciate anything that you can give us. It's really fun doing this, and we love to provide for you guys. And
And
it's hard to ask. It's hard to ask for money.
Right, but I was
really is.
actually just going to get to that. So, number one, if we don't get a dime out of anybody out of these things, we're still going to be continuing this. You guys aren't going to lose any service. We're not going to walk away. And that was something that Alex and I talked about a long time ago when we were, dreaming big about what this podcast can end up being and what it could turn into. And I mean, I'm still shocked by the progress that we make. Nick, we counted 35 countries that have.
Actually, I wrote this down because I was super impressed. I talked to the lawyers. They gave us some numbers. We are being listened to in 27 countries. That's right, 27 countries. And a special shout out to you. You know who you are in the Netherlands. We know there's only one of you so far, but please spread the word.
And he has to be the guy that's on the Facebook page. And we've talked about that too, where there seems to be a disconnect between our listeners and who follows us on social media. So we got to fix that. I tell you guys, follow us on Twitter and Facebook and go to the website every week before we end the episode. But for some reason, we're not getting the likes. And I don't really care about likes, but we do post stuff on there. And some of the stuff we don't have time to get to here on the show. So we post the article, or we write a paragraph or something about it on Facebook, or we throw it in on Twitter, whatever the case. But anyway, getting back to the whole asking for money thing. So we want to do this to improve your listening experience and expand your listening experience. And one of the things that Alex and I talked about a long time ago was the dedication we were going to put into this. And we're coming up. October is going to be 2 years that we've been doing this podcast. Nick, you joined us in June of last year. So I think we've proven that, we do this because we enjoy it, because I explode if I don't get to talk about this and vent and all that, especially when I was living in Arizona. So any help you guys can give, I don't care if it's $1, $100, doesn't matter to me, whatever you're willing to do, because we all know that media for the most part sucks nowadays, and it's kind of going to be up to us one day to get our own information and disseminate it across the public. We're hoping to be a small portion of that charge as fake news continues to dominate.
And people really we appreciate you now, and we'll appreciate you maybe a little more if we get some donations. but we appreciate it nonetheless. And go check out Twitter, go check out Facebook. We put a lot of content up on there that we don't do in the episodes because, you know how it is. If you turn the news on, you've got balls flying at your face at 100 miles an hour, and you can't catch them all. But that's just the way this current political climate is. So the stuff that we're not going to talk about on the podcast, we're trying to put it up on there. And before we get off of this and go to the contest, our first very contest,
yes,
super prize, double bonus, terrific Happy Gumdrop Land giveaway, I would like to send a special shout out to our new listeners in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I would like to send another special shout out to our listeners in Texas.
Yeah, Texas is
you
second
surprised the hell
largest
out of me,
state.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, like rock on. Like, that's awesome.
We
spread
kind
the
of
word. Get some more people
Well,
listening.
and here's the thing. I've always assumed Texas has been our second largest state for quite a while now as far as listeners go. And I've always assumed they were in Austin. But if you're not in Austin and you're one of our Texas listeners, hit us up. We'd be curious to hear what it's like living in Texas. I don't know if, you guys probably remember, if you're longtime listeners, Alex and I used to do a skit to start every show called Community Service, where we would talk about preaching the good word of atheism or liberalism, that sort of thing. If you're in a war zone, if you're the black sheep of your town or your family or your state, those are the stories we want to hear. And honestly, you don't need to donate to be a guest on our show. Send us your story. If you have an interesting enough story about your path to atheism or activism that you're involved in, any of that, we definitely want to get you on this show. We can interview all three of us, or Nick, our AOR correspondent, will interview you one-on-one. However it works. But anyway, we sound like the Hurley Heat boys. Or not to sound like the Hurley Heat boys. Please let me sleep in your bed. Just one night. SNL skit, Adam Sandler. All right, anyway. Whatever,
Please.
So anyway, more to come on that. We'll keep you guys updated on how it's going, and we thank you guys in advance for your continued support. So, moving on to Skeptic Sunday School.
No, giveaway.
Oh,
giveaway.
God,
We have a giveaway.
Yes,
God damn it.
Spirit of,
I need
hold
a
on.
boat
All right,
horn
all right,
for
all right.
you.
In the spirit of
Jesus
Sunday
H.
School.
Christ.
All right, in the spirit of Sunday School, we do have a contest going on. So, our label is our logo is low budget. I made the first one. I had somebody else make the second one. We're looking for ideas. Our current one is okay, but it's a little too dark. Now that we're a little bit lighter, we do politics. So here's what we want. We
Fuck
want
ideas. Send us a logo.
Send us a logo. Whatever you come up with, we will take it. I don't care if you don't know how to draw. If we get the main idea, we'll take that and pay a professional artist to put it together. And for that, we will send you a copy of God Is Not Great.
By the great Christopher
Hitchens. You don't get no better atheist than that guy.
Let me expand on that. If you guys send us a logo that is just balls to the walls awesome, we'll talk about it. We might use it.
And we'll put
anything you send us. We're not going to automatically send off to an artist and go, "Hey, make this shit show look better." We're obviously, if you send us some good stuff, we're probably just going to use it. I mean, that's to get fans involved, to get people involved. Send it to us. We'll look at all of them. We'll consider them, and hopefully we will be able to pick one of yours. We'll be able to talk about it. We'll give you a little shout out on the show. Maybe tell your story of how you came to the show, came to your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, whatever.
And we'll feature every entry that we get. So you can send that to The Age of Reason PC, as in podcast, P as in Paul, C as in cat, The Age of Reason PC @gmail.com. And we will post every entry we get. Send us some funny ones if you're not that interested. I don't give a shit. Draw a picture of Nick, you're the only photo on the website. Draw a dick pic with Nick. We'll put it up there. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't care if it's obscure or weird. I mean, if you've seen Anna Faris's podcast Unqualified, I know I'm giving her a shout out. We hate to do that, but her new picture is her holding a banana. I mean,
so everybody,
that's just
the best picture of Nick holding a banana. No, but anyway,
it really doesn't have to be that. The picture of me that's up there is me with a dinosaur looking over my shoulder. You can Photoshop that dinosaur out and put anything you want in there.
So we need to get mine and Alex's pics up there one of these days. We just don't like taking pictures. But
I don't know, why am I the only one up? You guys got to show your ugly faces too.
You're the only one that had a fitting picture that looked interesting on Facebook.
A fitting picture?
I went through my entire photo library. I went through Alex's photo library, which I don't recommend to anybody. You got some X-rated shit on there, Tricky Dick, you need to get rid of. But anyway, I went to everybody. I went to all three of our profiles on Facebook to look for a photo that would fit. Sorry, Nick, you're the most photogenic of the three of us. Alex has the sexiest voice.
You're gonna rob people of your.
What I got.
You're going to rob people of your camera melting ability and Alex's Cheech Marin mustache. I mean, come on.
All right. So anyway, send it in once again, theageofreasonpc @gmail.com. And you can also use the contact us link on aorpodcast.com on our website. Or Facebook, Twitter. I don't give a shit. Use whatever you want. Okay, now let's get into it. It's time for Skeptic Sunday School. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, bow your heads. Let us think. What do you got, Pastor Alex?
All right, so I got some more stories tucked away from last week. I saved a couple, but we're gonna do similar thing today. We're gonna hit on some of the top mythical creatures in the Bible. So this was an interesting little investigation for me. So the first one that I ran into was called an Abaddon, and basically. Let's see. In Hebrew, the name means a place of destruction. In Greek, it means the destroyer. But so basically, this guy was like the king demon. So they talk about him during the end times when the trumpets. So this on the fifth trumpet. So an abyss, a great smoking pit will open. A horde of demonic locusts will rise out. These creatures will be given the power to torture any person who does not bear God's seal. The pain they inflict will be so intense that sufferers will wish to die. And this Abaddon is the ruler of this abyss. So,
and this is coming from God, then, right? This is one of His minions.
Oh yeah.
The peaceful. Okay, that makes sense.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So there's a nice dark creature. The next one is a little lighter. So it's called a cherub. It's kind of weird. Yeah, cherub. There you go. So okay. As a kid, I remember my kid's Bible book or whatever, and I remember the story of Adam and Eve. And then after they ate the apple, in my story, in the kid's book, it was angels that guarded the tree with the flaming sword, and they kicked Adam out. So apparently it was a cherub. And
so what's a cherub?
So they're...
Isn't it the naked baby with the little arrow with the heart on the tip?
So that's a misconception, and but I don't fault you for it. I was actually listening to a preacher explain how Webster considered that a cherub, but it's not. So apparently, they're represented by 4 living creatures. They have 4 different faces: a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. And they have the figure and hands of men, the feet of calves. Each has 4 wings. Let's see.
We talked about this during I did this one, I think, the Skeptic Sunday School, where we talked about Revelations. These guys sat at the throne of John's vision, right?
Uh-huh.
For Revelations? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So these cool bodyguard kind of half animal, half people things.
They're just standing there with the clipboard in their hand. People are on the list.
So I mean, they're basically they resemble coals of fire. I don't know if that means they're burning or whatever, but yeah. So this is God's bodyguards.
God's bodyguards. God has a posse.
So the next one is the Leviathan.
Leviathan.
There you go. Sorry, my biblical pronunciation's not up to standards. But
oh man, that's just from a horror movie I saw a long time ago.
So this is the swift, crooked serpent. It's kind of most associated with the sea monster. It's kind of a mix between the Loch Ness monster and the Kraken.
Nessie's Kraken? That's a porn waiting to get made right there. 7 Days at Sea with Nessie's Kraken.
So it's always funny when I'm looking up Skeptic Sunday School, because typically I'll look through multiple sources and get different information, and I always try to pick one or two like hardcore, either Liberty University or Answers in Genesis, or some of these hardcore Christians, and listening to their because after you read the passage, it'll have their explanation as to how it's not really batshit crazy. It just sounds like it. So on these ones, it was saying that these features could apply to a crocodile. It has strong and close scales with limbs and teeth. But even this guy admitted there are many expressions which a modern scientist would not use to reference a crocodile. But the book of Job is neither modern nor scientific, but poetical, and ancient. So the science part, don't worry about that. It's all bullshit. It's poetical and old. So it's
poetical. It's a new word for me.
Oh, sorry, poetic.
Oh God! You just ghettoized poetic, man. Come on.
You need to stop smoking so much before you
To be honest, I haven't smoked enough today. So as soon as I finish
is that your problem?
Yeah, as soon as I finish Skeptic, I'm gonna.
He's a functioning stoner. It's like those people who are so drunk all the time that if they don't drive drunk, they're actually more dangerous.
Oh, that's definitely the case. I would admit to being high more than sober pretty much every day. So I can pronounce this one right. This one's unicorns. So unicorns are a thing of the Bible.
I did not know that.
Yes, so their strength is great, but they're useless for agricultural work because they refuse to serve man.
Stubborn, horny bastards.
So this would I also found in Answers in Genesis, led by the brilliant mind of Ken Ham, whose genius Ark Encounter is going bankrupt fast, and he's blaming it.
Well, that's because all them atheists come and ride the dinos.
He's blaming atheists actually, because we've ridiculed him so much that nobody wants to go.
And we shall continue.
So on the Answers in Genesis, he was saying the absence of a unicorn in the modern world should not cause us to doubt its past existence. Think of the dodo bird. It does not exist today, but we do not doubt that it existed in the past. So, I mean...
Hold on, I'm letting that one sink in a minute.
Yeah.
We don't have dinosaurs around either.
But we know...
No, we don't have dinosaurs and we don't have dodos, but we have the remains of both.
Yeah.
Maybe their horns were like just biodegradable, made of a different material, so we just thought they were horse fossils.
So it gets a little bit. So it goes on to say
no one's gonna take me up on that, huh?
Yeah, kind of sounds like dodo behavior.
So he goes on to say that 18th century reports from southern Africa describe rock drawings, because that was pretty close to the Holy Land, and eyewitness accounts of fierce, single-horned, equine-like animals. Such reports from the 18th century describe a single horn directly in front, about as long as one's arm, and at the base about as thick. It had a sharp point, but it was not attached to the bone of the forehead, only fixed to the skin. So I don't know if it's
so somebody just took some fucking chewing gum.
I don't know. I think of like a floppy horn when I think of it like that. But
all right,
that's what these guys. I got one more, but I guess that's what these guys got to do to believe this shit and not be in another world. So the last one is the cockatrice. So the cockatrice was born to a cock's egg, which I didn't know cocks laid eggs, but
nope.
Apparently when they do, it's a cockatrice. So this is a deadly creature that can kill you with a glance. It's in the book, it's described like a serpent-like creature. And again, we have the modern biblical scholars.
What was that movie? Just give him the fucking stare. Sorry, go ahead. So the biblical scholars are trying to say that this was basically just a snake. But I'm going to let the Bible speak for itself here. I have two quotes on the cockatrice that were interesting. So the first one is, "For, behold, I will send serpents, cockatrices, among you, which will not be charmed, and they shall bite you, saith the Lord." On top of it, I'm just imagining they have the face of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Oh, like some gross Scorpion King cockatrice that's God sends out to bite people.
They could kill you with a fearsome glance or some shit. I was just imagining the eyebrow going up, people just falling over.
Okay, so this is my last quote, and I got to end it with this. But I had to read this a couple times before I really got it. So this is a direct quote. There's more to it, but I only kept the good part. So, "And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den."
What's the poetical meaning? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But what is the meaning of that?
I mean, it's just the context is it's just talking about children, and I'm not exactly sure how they got to the sucking child. It didn't really make sense when I read the context.
It sounds like something from the Catholics.
Or the whole of the asp.
The asp hole?
The asp hole, yes. So the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp. Yeah, I read that and I was just like, what the hell?
Sounds like bad parenting.
One finger circular motion. Don't you look at me.
I can't help it, Papa. Every time I spin around,
oh my God,
I see you.
All right. I guess what this really comes down to is like some of this stuff is just funny. There was no real insight to this other than if you believe in the Bible, you don't get to cherry pick. If you're in any religion and you're going to believe anything out of the Bible, you got to believe everything out of the Bible, which means you need to believe in cock eggs and
floppy-headed unicorns.
You didn't mention it, but dragons are in there too, and
there's other good ones.
There's other ones, and fucking unicorn. Like you have to believe in all these things, or once you start chipping away and saying, "Nah, this is bullshit," it just starts falling apart, and that's just ammo for us. So if you're gonna be religious, be religious. So, all right, that concludes Skeptic Sunday School. So let's head on to the news. So the one thing I got today, I think I hate talking about him, but right now Trump is trying to get the House to water down the Russian sanctions that we have. So the Trump administration wants to lighten the bill that was just passed through the Senate at a vote of 98-2. So that just came out of the Senate, and that happened on last week on Tuesday. And Republican House Rep Kevin Brady out of Texas basically just put a stop to it, hoping that this would cause the bill to be redrafted. A quote here from the White House is that their basic message, the reason why they want to block this bill, or they basically Trump wants full reign over this bill, is because the basic message is, I'm quoting here, if you're going to do this, give us, the White House, the flexibility to, if we need to, turn up the heat, or if Russia starts to demonstrate signs that they are pulling out of Ukraine or fulfilling some of the requirements of the Minsk agreement around the Ukraine, then we have the ability to dial it back. So this is coming from C. Hammond, who is an advisor of Rex Tillerson, and he was referring to the 2015 ceasefire agreement between Russia and the Ukraine. So the reason the White House wants this is to basically have flexibility to reward good behavior and punish bad behavior. The problem is he's still under investigation, no matter how much his lawyer can't make up his mind. He's still under investigation over colluding with Russia, and we're going to give that guy control?
Well, that's one of the problems. The other problem is he's trying to completely bypass Congress and their right to issue sanctions. Oh, just give it to me. Let me take care of it.
Not only that,
Jesus
bipartisan
Christ.
shit does not. You do not see a 98-2 vote in the fucking Senate for anything.
And I mean, it's. I guess. I mean, you should give credit to the senators for passing that, regardless of what Trump thinks. But
Sure.
then, I mean, if you look at the healthcare bill right now, which we'll talk about later, I mean, there goes any credit. So, it's a great.
Well, I mean, the Senate, like Mike was saying, the Senate passes at 98-2. I mean, that's a pretty big consensus. And the thing is he proves more and more every day that he is not our president.
Right.
That he is Donald Trump working for Donald Trump,
or Putin,
doing things for Donald Trump,
or Putin,
for the greatness of Donald Trump,
or Putin.
No, and see but he's not doing it for Putin. He's doing it for Donald Trump because something he has worked out with Putin is going to benefit Donald Trump.
Yeah, sure.
So, but I mean that the bottom line with all of this stuff happening, the scary thing that happened this week is Kislyak left.
Well, Russia.
When the Russian spy master gets pulled out, what's going on there?
Well, didn't Putin order all overseas diplomats back home?
I saw a headline about that. I think from like the Daily Mail or the Telegram. I did not read the story though.
Either way, Kislyak got called back to Russia. And if he is doing this globally, that's never good news. So
I wonder if Mueller was gonna maybe subpoena him. Can we subpoena foreign officials?
no, I think you have immunity under those cases. That type of stuff has to be
Yeah.
brought up on I think a larger scale, probably with the UN, that sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
maybe we could. I can't confirm that. It doesn't sound like it sounded like you would have some sort of immunity blocking you from being as a representative of a government being held by a subpoena or in contempt of court or any of that from a foreign government.
I mean, I imagine you could still have a conversation with the person.
Probably can't force it though. So yeah, I mean that would be the best news. Is that's the reason why it happened. But if it really is true that Vladimir Putin has ordered all of his guys home, that's just never good news. And real quick, before I toss it over to you, Alex, I wanted to include that Philando Castile's mother, they just settled for $3 million with St. Anthony, Minnesota. If you guys don't know who Philando Castile is, he was the black male that was gunned down. The trial just ended, and we had dash cam footage of what took place, and when it went down, Philando Castile's girlfriend filmed the whole thing and live fed it to Facebook. This is where he was sitting in his seat. Cop walks up to the door. He tells the cop, "I have a legally registered firearm." And the cop says, "Give me your wallet." He goes to grab his wallet. Cop gets spooked and shoots him, I think, 4 times right in front of his girlfriend and her toddler daughter, who I think was about 3 or 4 years old. If you haven't seen the new footage, it's pretty graphic and kind of heart-wrenching. But I don't know. It's not enough. I mean, that's not progress. That's not justice. Paying somebody off to
No,
basically,
there's no price on the life. But
no.
I mean,
and the cop got let off.
So it's interesting. I mean, not interesting you brought it up, but I was actually gonna mention this, that the cop, who was Hispanic, Geronimo Yanez, he was found not guilty. He said he feared for his life because of the smell of weed when he approached the car. So,
you know what? If the smell of weed scares you as a police officer, take your fucking badge off.
Agreed. The reason I was gonna segue into that is because one of the news articles that I have kind of highlights the same kind of problem. So what happened in St. Louis? We had a off-duty black police officer who was shot by the police department for trying to help them apprehend criminals. So basically, the police department pulled a car over. The car started shooting at the officers and crashed. So there was a pursuit. This off-duty officer, who hasn't, I think his name has not been released, who's been with the service 11 years of service with the police department, he grabbed his service weapon and helped in the pursuit. 2 officers saw him. They kind of asked him to identify. Then they recognized him, so they went on. A 3rd officer ran up, saw this guy with the gun and shot him in the arm, I think, thinking he was one of the suspects. But I mean, it's just an absurdity.
And I mean, you can call it speculation, but I mean, if the guy was white with the gun, probably would have been told to drop it, or there would have been time for the other 2 officers who recognized the off-duty black officer to identify him. I don't know. I guess the only bit of proof that you have, sorta, that this isn't necessarily coincidence is that I've never heard of this happening with a white cop, and I know of plenty of stories, including an active shooter situation in an Oregon mall where an off-duty white police officer took his gun out and joined law enforcement in the response, and he was not shot by law enforcement. So I mean, it's kind of apples to oranges, I know, but I mean, it's that old saying: you throw enough shit at a wall, it's going to start to stick, and there's a lot of shit sticking to this wall right now.
Well, unfortunately, the agency of government that was looking into all of this and giving recommendations to law enforcement agencies has been stopped by our strong, heroic president and his diminutive munchkin that runs our Justice Department.
So let's see, what do I got next? Next, I have one of Obama's last decisions before he left the White House was to grant $10 million in grants to help support organizations that were fighting white supremacy or trying to prevent it, basically. So eventually, when Trump first took office, I think this happened in February initially, he froze these grants. And just this last week, he decided to cancel most of them. So this was to multiple agencies and police departments. They use the money to identify and counteract the hate groups. Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly said the agency is stepping up efforts to counter terrorist recruitment and radicalization. So basically, he performed a thorough review of the grant program, and his review led to these places losing their funding, as well as more places. Basically, the money is going to be focused on Islamic terrorism and radicalization. And some of this money was actually spent. There was $800,000 grant that was for anti-jihadi Muslim film from a college and stuff. And it's just, I mean, when you look at the things that this administration is cutting or proposing to cut, it's like going to be, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Well, you gotta wonder why. Like, what reason do they have to cut that? We already are spending up the butt for Islamic terrorism, but why are we taking the language out of our legal books that say that white supremacy is a terrorist organization?
I know.
Because they already got rid of that.
Me. I know.
You?
Because he started this white fucking hurricane. That's why.
Well, I mean, I definitely, I think I saw that the number of domestic terrorist groups have gone up just in the last 6 months. I think either like 100% or some crazy number.
And hate crimes are through the roof, Nick.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself, honky.
Inside joke. But anyway, crimes against minorities, especially Muslims, have been on the rise since before Trump even took office. We started seeing a huge rise, and I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I didn't think we'd be talking about them today, but I want to say last June we actually, about a year ago, we started talking about the rise against white terrorism, domestic terrorism here in the United States against Muslims and mosques and stuff like that. And again, remember, we were talking about in Texas how I think it was right after the San Bernardino shooting, we had armed white citizens standing guard outside of mosques, intimidating Muslims as they were walking in and out. I mean, and we discussed that would never fucking happen.
Can I give you a number,
in the reverse?
Mike?
Yes.
You said you didn't have the number off the top of your head?
Yeah.
If you look at the Southern Poverty Law Center's website, there are currently 917 white nationalist hate groups operating in the United States. And they even have a map that shows you where they are. Would you like to know how many are in your state?
Sure. How many are in Colorado, specifically around Denver?
Let me pull that up here. Let me go by Colorado.
I imagine it's a pretty good number because there is. I mean, while like Denver's pretty liberal, there's some outskirts of.
There are 16 in Colorado.
How many does Oregon have? Because Oregon has been known for a while as kind of the stronghold for white supremacy, not KKK or anything, but.
It's weird because it's the same thing, right? It's a pretty liberal state.
Yeah, liberal state.
There's 11 in Oregon.
Well, Colorado's beating Oregon. That's shocking.
The one I always heard about when I worked up there in Washington, I was always told that over in Idaho they had a problem and it says that there's 12 recognized white nationalist
Well,
groups.
you're counting
in
the groups,
Idaho.
not the people. So maybe there's more members to these groups in Oregon. That could be it. But,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Um,
Let me see. California. What do we
You're gonna
got
have a
here?
ton.
79.
yeah, 79.
Wow.
You got all those fucking morons that follow American History X that claim DOC. Alex and I knew some of those morons in high school, actually. The domination of colors.
We got like 7 Nazi groups. Wow. Huh. Oh,
crazy.
there's an Islamic group in Walnut Creek, California. I know that place well. Wow.
Hey, do you guys have the Modesto White Boys? Is it?
That's a white boy.
just some more fucking morons we knew back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, so last week we had some exciting news. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago. We had some exciting news. California introduced, actually, the Senate passed Senate Bill 562. It was going to get us universal health care. Well, this past week, it's been shelved, I guess is the word they're using. They're going to re-examine it in November of 2018, so right around the corner. Basically, it was a Democrat, the head Democrat of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon, shelved it, and I'm not exactly sure of this process of shelving,
The shelving?
where you don't kill it, but you hibernate it, I guess.
I believe you bang the gavel and say, I move to shelve this bill in the shelf in the pantry behind the peanut butter.
thank you,
And
Attorney
then-
General Keebler.
Then it gets
That's the voice I have of Jeff Sessions.
you're making me
Beauregard.
nervous.
Now it says that this guy shelved it because he likes the bill, but it's in his opinion, right? It was incomplete, and he wants to make sure that when it goes through, there's no bullshit that's going to lead the Republicans to then point at California and say, "Hey, look, they tried that over there and it failed," right?
The economic side of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just, to me, I mean, we kind of discussed it a little bit, but it just seems to me like this bill from the Senate wasn't a detailed proposal. So you have to admit that. So I'll do that. But to me, what should have happened is they should have worked together to try to create something. When you look at the House and the Senate right now nationally, how they trying to ram everything from the budget to healthcare down everybody's throats. I think now's the time in a state like California where we have both pieces of Congress to do the same thing on the other side. Obviously, it needs to be thought out, but we need to be putting the efforts into it.
Let me ask you this: did you find out if they were to have passed this bill on schedule when it would have taken effect?
So I mean, it's the same thing, right? So the Assembly would have most likely written up its own bill that would have been more detailed than
my
the Senate
question,
bill. But
my question is we're hoping for a very blue overtake in 2018 of Congress, and my thought is if I see you rolling your eyes, I know
More on that later.
I said hoping. But
know.
yeah, we're gonna bash the liberals or support them. We're not sure where we stand on this. We'll find that out later. But I would think that if they could have had this into effect, it would have been very new. The Republicans probably could have poked some holes into it. But if it would have been something that went into effect soon, it would have been California would be the shining star on the hill for the example to say, hey, look what Democrats can offer you.
Well, they said that he says that it will come back up for consideration next year. So, I suppose a year to wait ain't really bad. But there was an article, and I think either the San Jose Mercury News or the LA Times, I'm forgetting which, where somebody had mentioned that people have discovered that he actually has traditionally taken money from some of the groups that are opposing the bill. So, right there, you may be right. It may be dead now, But he says that it'll come up in a year. Maybe his feet can be held to the fire to make that happen.
yeah, I think to me, it's just like the talk around it. I mean, it's not like, hey, we're gonna figure out how to do this, and next year we're gonna have this badass proposal. It's like, yeah, we'll look at it next year. To me, and
I think they want to see where it's going to go with or maybe not in this particular instance, but I mean, as a lawmaker, I could be convinced of the argument to put this on hold until next year to see what happens with Trump Care.
But I think, it's almost like proactive, right? So if California can say, look, every single person in California is going to have health care, regardless of what you pass nationally, I think, it's almost like could be a bastion, like, hey, this is our battleground.
It could be, but that economic portion is important, because if the bill was written and proposed with the language in it that would say that California is going to use the Medicaid money that it collects from the federal government as part of the subsidy for the single payer option, and then Trump Care gets passed, and all of a sudden it's like, well, where's California going to get that extra money every year?
Yeah, no, that it's definitely fair, right? And this is expensive. I think nationally it's 1/6 of the budget is healthcare. So if you consider that with California, and the GDP of California competes with most countries,
our single payer option would be pretty expensive. I want to say it was $3 billion a year.
It's a huge number, and I obviously I recognize that, but I know how much I pay for my insurance premiums every month that I don't go to the doctor, and obviously it doesn't make up to $3 billion, but the thing that people
no, actually, I'm sorry, it's not $3 billion, it's $400 billion a year.
Okay. Pretty big number.
Yeah.
But and this is where obviously the lawmakers, the professionals, need to get to work and have their secretaries get to work, or the people under them. But it's just like, how much are we spending already, Californians, on healthcare, and how much of that goes to insurers, which right now is the middleman, and this bill or this idea obviously cuts the middleman out.
Right. Well, that's the argument to begin with, because they were saying that if no Californian has to pay for insurance anymore, then they can afford a modest tax increase to cover the cost of doing this.
And I've talked to conservatives that if when you show them, like, Bernie's plan, and his wasn't all into specifics either. But when you told them, hey, if you get a 2% tax increase to save all the money that you spent, or whatever through the year on premiums and stuff, would you do it? They're like, oh, hell yeah. At the end, if I save money,
Well, I think if I remember correctly, when we crunched those numbers back then when we were talking about single payer, on a household of $50,000 income, you're paying between $4,000 to sometimes $6,000 in insurance premiums, just not including going to the doctor. Just if you have a family of 4, that's what you're paying, and that same family would pay around anywhere between $400 and $900 a year on a single payer system. Just that's basically on the low end $4,000 to $400 with the 2% tax increase.
If I'm gonna, if I told you I'm gonna save you $4,000, but I'm gonna increase your taxes
$3,600.
So
So we're gonna save you $3,600 a year, and you can now afford to actually use the health care coverage. That's the other side of it that I don't think we ever really discussed. We discussed the finances, but we didn't really just discuss the benefit beyond the 36 to however many thousands of dollars in savings a year is you can now actually afford to go to the doctor. I remember, when I was growing up, Alex, I think you were too. I was on Medi-Cal, government assistance growing up, and I went to the doctor all the time. I can't tell you the last time I went to the doctor. I want to say I was living in Southern California, so it was probably in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I don't go to the. I have insurance, and I don't go to the doctor. Even just because it's like I don't want to pay $50 to, to go to the doctor and him tell me it's pretty crazy, and my premiums are not cheap, either. So it's unfortunate that this happened, and hopefully next year, they get to work on it. But right now, healthcare. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it sounds unfortunate now, but I get where the congressman I get where he's coming from, as long as you take him at his word. If what he's saying is true and he's preventing us from basically throwing a few jabs to get a right hook later from the Republicans when they point at us and say that shit didn't work, it won't be so unfortunate. And I hope they make it worth the wait. I hope when they do pass it through, it is perfect and 100%. And if it's not now, better late than never, I guess.
Right, because, everybody's got to realize that when a new program is starting like that, say we get the program, we get the votes, we get the support, we get everything all ready to go, and then it passes and it gets implemented, there's a lot of, you don't know what's going to happen in the implementation, so there's
the hiccups.
A lot of there's hiccups there.
We can assume the website will crash.
And the whole time, the growing pains are happening, and all the hiccups are happening, and all the early mistakes are happening. The Republicans are going to be bashing every single one of those mistakes as proof that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's fair, but
at the election.
But at the end
of
the
day,
do it now. That's fair, right? And I get the point, but at the end of the day, I think it's more important to make sure every single Californian and American has access to healthcare or has.
Absolutely.
No, totally. I
get that, but it's just, to me, like I said, I would just take the national example, which we're about to get to right now, and see how those guys are jamming it down our throats. And I would say, fuck it, do it on the other side. But Nick, on national healthcare. How we doing?
Yes. So basically the headline here is the Senate, by the grace of that tortoise in the sky, Mitch McConnell.
How did he get on that fence post?
He sauntered up onto the beach and squeezed out one little egg with this new healthcare bill in it, and it is an improvement.
It is. It's progress.
Improvement. It's progress. 22 million people are going to lose their health insurance as opposed to 24. So
says the CBO.
So says the CBO that just came out today. The CBO wrecked the shit out of this thing. $772 billion less on Medicaid over the next decade. Health insurance premiums for old people are going to go up by 5 times the rate of a younger person, whereas before Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, had a cap for the insurance companies that said that you couldn't charge more than 3 times what they charge a young person. So the Republicans, who traditionally are voted for and followed by our older generation, is going to hurt the older generation.
This gives
So for all you people listening that care about the older generation, whether it's yourself or your Meemaw, get out there and tell them what's about to happen, and tell them to call their senator, your senator. You fans in Texas, Ted Cruz, my God, Ted Cruz is your senator.
No, he says.
I don't know what you can do to that serpent.
That's why he's not voting for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and Rand Paul and a few others, it's not hard enough. But this brings me back to the whole stumping progress. When I said hurry up and die, Grandma, that might actually happen now.
Well, yeah.
And they voted for it. And again, this is affecting those 22 million people. While all of them did not vote for Trump, even though he would claim that all 22 million were at his fucking rally, those are the majority of the people, the old and the disenfranchised and the younger generation that's uneducated or poor and shouldn't be put in charge of money, as he just said in a recent campaign rally. They're the ones that are going to get hurt the most, and they voted for this fuck. And I still can't win an argument with anybody over this. I still can't get a younger person or an older person who's either retired or approaching retirement, or a younger person. I know a young guy who listens and quotes fucking Tupac and Ice Cube who still thinks Donald Trump is the shit. You can't convince these fucking people. And unfortunately, I hate to fucking say this, but unfortunately, shit needs to get worse. And it needs to continue getting worse until these people pull their fucking heads out of their ass.
But the danger of that is that they already believe every word that comes out of his mouth, and all he does is blame the Democrats for being obstructionists.
They can't
He never
obstruct.
turns around and
They don't have the
can't
numbers.
obstruct. I'm going to read you some numbers later on that
Oh,
are going
I
to scare the
can't
crap
wait.
out of you.
Ugh.
But hang on here real quick. The one other thing I wanted to talk about with what the bill has. I mean, if you guys haven't read the bill, pull up a news story on it, watch some TV where they explain it.
Just not Fox News.
It's terrible. But Planned Parenthood, again, Planned Parenthood, what they're going to do is they're going to bar Planned Parenthood for 1 year from receiving any Medicaid funding to reimburse the organization for non-abortion services.
Which is
Okay,
what, like 97% of their services, right?
Yeah, so they're going to block them from getting any money for a year, which is basically going to kill them, or cause them to shut down most of their clinics. And then on top of that, they have to throw the abortion thing in there when federal law already prevents Medicaid money from going to abortions.
Yeah.
And there's other states that have already blocked that as well. So we have to have laws on top of laws on top of laws that all say the same thing, because we got to get a bill through that says something about abortion so that I can say that I voted for it.
But
And I
for small
control
government.
women. What?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm for small
No, I know.
government.
Oh, yeah. Unless it pertains to a female's body or health care or taxes.
So let me break down this numbers here with the amount of people that are going to lose their insurance here. So what I did was I took a spreadsheet here and I put in 9 different states. So I've got the population of these 9 different states, and I've got the number of uninsured people. So if you have California, you've got 38 million people that live in California, and about 3 million of them are uninsured, which is about 7%. So of the population that is insured, 34% of those get their insurance through Medicaid. So if Medicaid gets eliminated and a state isn't ready to put the money up front itself, there's going to be millions more people off. They're going to combine with this other population. And then if that happens, you get scary numbers like 40% of the population of California would be uninsured. That's ridiculous.
I mean, it's horrible. And the thing that the other conservative point that I can't believe they don't understand, because all these guys, have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and they have a good job. They raise everyone that has insurance. They raise your rates when they see all these uninsured people because they have to get the money from somewhere.
Good point.
Right.
So it's not like, it's a savings even to themselves. We're all people with insurance. You're going to end up paying more to make up for it. So,
and they have less people to pay out money for.
Exactly.
So, and the ridiculous thing about this is I looked at the population. These numbers are just terrible. You look at how many people are covered with Medicaid in certain states. Texas, you got 23%, Florida 21%, Kansas 15%, Washington 26%, Kentucky 32%. The 3 top ones are Kentucky, New York, and California. 32 to 34% of their population has Medicaid.
And Kentucky is the turtle state.
Right.
His own fucking citizens. I mean, you would think if it's New York and California, it's a conservative conspiracy against liberals. But this is Mitch McConnell's fucking state.
Right, but here's the thing. Even going beyond that, I took a look at which of these states accepted the ACA expansion. Okay? All but 3 of them did. Now, let me ask you here. What color do you think these states are? Who did they vote for in the last election?
I'm gonna say Trump.
Yeah, all three. All three of them. They didn't accept the Medicaid expansion, and they all voted for Trump. And if this goes through, 36% of Texans will be out of insurance, 31% of Floridians, and 24% of Kansans will all be out of insurance. Now, Kansas, they've apparently seen the light and said, wait, we do want to expand Medicaid. But they're expanding it right now when it's going to be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little late there, Kansas. I mean, you've already, you know.
And the biggest and worst number of all of this, and let's get serious now, because this is serious. About 60% of all of the people that receive Medicaid are kids.
Yeah.
So are we or are we not for the children?
Only until they come out of the womb.
That's right. Yeah, because it's got the abortion language.
And I mean, like Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, she had a good statement today. She said, like, this is supposed to be a healthcare bill. She said, tell me one good thing about this bill that either helps people, lowers the rates, or is going to save lives. And this is a healthcare bill, and there's literally not a single thing that's going. I mean, it cuts, cancer research, all things like this.
I mean, the lie is because it's all about taxes. That's what the healthcare. That's what the Obamacare was about, and that's what this is about. It's all about taxes, which is going to create more jobs and get rid of the job-killing Affordable Care Act, and it's going to keep prices low because they're going to eliminate the state borders and give everybody competition.
But that's not even in the bill. That's not even in the bill.
Well, the tax part is.
No, the tax part for sure. I was watching.
Well, but the thing is that this bill isn't. They're not repealing the ACA with this bill. This is called a reconciliation bill where they can only mess with budget numbers.
Yeah.
They can't do anything else. They can't do policy in this. So this is all they can do for now. They're going to do this, and then from this they're going to move on to tax cuts. And they're going to cut taxes further.
Because I was just watching before we came on. The senators right now, the Democratic senators are doing some kind of protest. I'm not sure what the formal name is, but they're having committee hearings, and it was only Democrats speaking. But one of them was showing 4 different states how many millions of dollars Medicare is getting cut on those 4 states. And the exact amount was equal to 400 families' tax cuts after this comes in. So I mean,
as we're transitioning there, let's move on to the DNC future discussion, because I mean this has a lot to do with it. I mean, when this type of shit is going on, and you got Chuck Schumer having a marker flaw by trying to make a stupid fucking point with some dumbass prop to say that that it's going to be meaner than Donald Trump thought it was. The Democrats need their fucking balls. Jesus Christ. The Republicans would be all over this shit.
If I had a dollar for every time I heard a Democratic politician use when Trump called the bill mean, and like,
right,
they think that word is just like horrible, like it's an obscenity.
No, you know what? I know exactly what this is, and this is what we've talked about before. Has to do with the liberal need to use that snowflakey language.
Yeah.
This is that politically correct argument that
we're losing, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely we are. The Republicans, bless their hearts, they are not afraid to yell a racial slur, and that's one of the if a liberal uses a slur or something, they're attacked from not just their community but from the right wing as well. When a right winger does it, he's a good old boy, he grew up in that time, let's forgive him. That snowflakey language that we have, we think that the word mean means something to these people. It doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't mean anything. Grab him by the pussy didn't mean anything to them in the election. Why would mean matter?
And when you listen to them, I mean, they honestly think that word is just gonna like, oh, he called me mean.
Well, you've already won the soccer mom vote. You don't need to convince the liberals who live in Marin County to vote for you. You need to convince those frickin' working class people who think they've been left out in the cold by your party. You need to convince them because they saw Donald Trump as an option.
Yeah. But
Oh my
I
God.
saw this mean thing that we're talking about. I see the PC part of it. I totally agree. But that wasn't my frustration specifically with Chuck Schumer. That was my frustration. My frustration was he was really just trying to be clever. And he landed right on his fucking face. It's like if you're going to try to be clever, she's okay, but fucking Amy Schumer is your goddamn niece. Have her fucking come up with something for you. This was a complete fucking failure and made you look like a dipshit. Not only that, get a better fucking Sharpie if you're gonna make your stupid fucking point.
Well, that was the thing. That was
riled
the
up.
thing. He tripped and fell and landed on his face. Then he got up and he smiled big with the toothless grin for the camera when he says, "Meaner." Can you guys see that? Do I need to fill it
Yeah.
in? Okay, I'll fill it in. And then he spends time to fill it in.
Is that better?
What is that?
Is that better?
Wait, does it really cost that much more to have another chart made up so you can just like drop the first
Or
one
just
and it says
don't
meaner?
do it. Call it bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I mean, the reason why I brought it up, and I think it is a PC thing because honestly, that's like the word. That's been the word of the week for Democrats.
It's been a word of a fucking year.
No,
You mean meaner? Yeah, exactly.
No, just mean because when Trump called it mean, I mean they just every single Democrat I've heard talk about healthcare, and I've listened to several committee hearings where they're bringing it up. They all say even Donald Trump called it mean, and it's just like okay, that's one thing, but it's bullshit, like you said, and I mean there's
Well, that's because they're going for these women that stand out there on the soccer fields and go, "Oh my God, did you hear that Skylar called Veronica mean?"
Or honestly, what they're really appealing to is fucking college kids who obviously didn't turn out to fucking vote last year anyway. Fuck them.
Well, why are you being mean to them?
I'm being
Don't be mean.
fuck their safe space. Go experience
now-
something.
See, this is a different conversation needs to be had about this because I think this can be solved with a change in leadership. And there's been a lot of talk about Nancy Pelosi going. A lot of people say she needs to go because she's affecting all these small elections. They stick Nancy Pelosi into a campaign ad with somebody else, and boom, they're done. They're done. So, does a leadership change need to happen?
Yes.
And if it happens, who needs to be in charge, both from a realistic standpoint and somebody who has the balls to tell it like it is at least half the time?
I'm gonna say, and this is totally cliche for me and probably Alex too. I'm gonna say if it ain't fucking Bernie or Warren, like we're fucked. But what I'll say is this: is the 6th district election that we just had, and we put John Ossoff up against I forget her fucking name. But when you watch the debate coverage, this is how you fucking know you need new leadership. Not to mention, they attacked this guy for being a Star Wars nerd in fucking college. But on the debate stage, he recited, Ossoff did, a burning line. If you work 40 hours or more a week, you do not deserve to live in poverty. It goes to her, and she says, I don't agree with the livable wage.
yeah.
If we're losing that shit, now, there's some people on the left that are saying that the Democrats need to stop counting their losses as wins. I totally agree. But for as close as that race was in a district that has been held by since the 1970s when Newt Gingrich was there, that's not enough progress. Is my point. You should not be losing elections. By the way, we are 0-4 on these presidential elections.
I think 6.
Are we 0-6? I thought we were 0-4.
The
Regardless, it's a losing fucking record. We're looking
I mean-
like the Oakland fucking Raiders in this motherfucker.
Hey,
Sorry.
watch it.
Sorry.
The last guy body slammed the fucking reporter
And we
the
still
day
lost.
before the election. I mean, it's like you said, you can't even make this shit up anymore.
To be fair, there's 25 people in Montana, and they all voted absentee, so they didn't know that
They're
happened.
all WWE fans. But but that's the thing. You cannot lose elections like this. And this is the other fucking thing too. And we're gonna bring up last election again. There was so much fucking dirt on Hillary Clinton. It was no secret that the right had been working on her, digging up dirt, filling up Benghazi with 8 fucking hearings, wasting $4 million of taxpayers' money, comes out, fucking Senator or McCarthy from California comes out and admits that this was only to sway the views of the people against Hillary Clinton. They've been working on her, and that's still who they chose to favor in the fucking primaries, as opposed to fucking Bernie. They knew she did not have what it took. They knew she was a fucking robot. They knew now was the time to stand up for civil fucking rights, and the Clintons always get there too fucking late. And again, they were too late to the finish line on this fucking election. We need new goddamn leaderships in the DNC, or we're going to run into the same Bernie or bust fucking problem in 2020, which is not what I want to happen.
But do you think, honestly, that because here's the problem that I have with just saying let's go with Bernie again. Number one, I don't think he's going to run again.
Sure.
Number two, Warren still isn't saying she's going to run. There's other options though. But my point to having Bernie run again. Imagine this. Imagine that you have a primary coming up and Bernie's the only one. Nobody's going to run against him. He's just going to win the primary. Do you think that you're going to convince those independent voters to go Bernie's way against a Republican candidate? Because here's the thing. We've been told in this country for so long that socialism is a naughty word, it's a negative word. And when Bernie says I'm a democratic socialist, that sends off alarm bells in people's minds.
Of course.
You know, so even the people that are Democrats may say, well, you know, today I'm a blue dog Democrat, and I'm going to go over to the Republican side because I am afraid that we're going to go down the path of that commie Russia.
But
you know,
so I mean, number one, that stifles progress when we think like that. But number two, even Fox News has polls that show Bernie is the most popular politician out there, and this is Fox News. So there's been multiple polls.
No, and that's fine.
And
I'm not even saying that you got to get people to show up.
Nick, I see your concern, and I agree with your concern. But what I'm hoping is like we said it on the show. I said it quite a few times. I think you both have said it too. That America is going to get what they deserve in 2016 with that election. And the thing is America stupid enough to buy into this shit twice? The only way I think we're able. I think right now I see it, but that's what I said.
Absolutely, they
but
are.
That was my
look at this healthcare bill. It's not going to hit anyone until after the next election.
And you're leading me to my rebuttal with that, which is the hurry up and die grandma deal. We need shit to get worse in order for these motherfuckers to actually feel what the hell they did.
Okay, so I have a difference, I think, of opinion from both of you. We don't need shit to get worse because that means more people dying. But I think right now, I mean, because I'm connected to a lot of people that I met on the Bernie campaign, and you know, I've been slacking off. I've been doing, you know, my own thing and stuff, but those motherfuckers are dedicated, and their numbers are growing, and I'm seeing a Democratic monthly meeting going on in Patterson, this tiny hick town that's, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. The resistance is there, and it's rising, and we need to continue, and I know I need to get my ass out there, and there's people protesting Jeff Denham's office right now every single day for the healthcare. I just got a text from Revolution of Stanislaus while we're doing the podcast, saying they're protesting Jeff Denham's. They're doing a fake funeral for Jeff Denham on Thursday at 9:30 a.m.
Well, speaking of funerals, let me just rephrase. I'm not saying I hope people die, but what I'm saying is I'm afraid that that's what it's going to fucking take. It's going to take these guys actually feeling the self beating they just gave to themselves. You know, as we discussed with the healthcare bill, I mean, these are all his supporters. These are all people that voted for him.
Right, and that's my point. The Republicans are pushing off the bad Medicaid cuts until after the 2020 election. So Trump runs again. If he wins, they still got the reins. They can keep going if the Democrats don't win it back. And things can get a whole lot worse. I'm not cheering for things to get worse. I think that people should be standing up on their own, absolutely. But even on the progress front that you're talking about, Alex, I think it was between 90 and 100 million people who are registered to vote did not vote in the last election. So even if you register people and you get your numbers up, that's no guarantee that they're going to come
I
out.
think it had to do with a very polarizing political landscape, and it had a lot to do with the DNC and their fuckery.
I mean, I don't honestly. I don't try to bring this up even with conversation between me and Mike, because I think I probably am more radical on the issue, but I don't blame the DNC or whatever, but I just don't. I know people who had strongly they hated Hillary Clinton, and these are people that they were joined the Socialist Party 20 years ago. I mean, some of them were these guys, protesters that are 60 years old, whatever, the hardcore liberal people that said, I just can't vote for Hillary Clinton. So, I mean, I don't like to bring it up and say like, oh yeah, that it was the DNC's fault or whatever, but I can't really blame those people who, like I said, have spent a lifetime of activism and said, hey, I just can't make this vote.
I'll say this. I still do, and I know you and I are on opposite sides of the fence, but I think where you and I both agree is when it comes to the conversation we're having right now about DNC leadership, fuck the college kids and their PC bullshit. Those are the people they need to pay attention to.
Yeah, and not every and there's not I mean, again, there's not all old people. There's lots of young people that are out there too, and
sure.
They're not all this PC or whatever. I mean.
But that is a demographic.
But see, that's the problem though, because in 2012, I just looked the numbers up. 93 million people who could vote did not. That was in 2012. So it's obviously not just special because of last year, okay? And if it's not special because of last year, that means that people aren't coming out to vote. And they say young people don't come out to vote. If you can't get young people excited to come out and vote, as a party, you have to sit there and say, well, if we can't get the young people to come out, then we obviously have to maintain our base, just like the
or
the
put
Cheeto
somebody
and
up
Cheetos
that's
doing
going
right
to
now.
do that and get rid of this fucking leadership that we currently have and get new blood in there that can rally that base.
So I heard in a speech recently,
but you can't even get them to back all of the candidates.
So
they throw a whole bunch of money behind the Georgia election, but then they leave the guy in Montana twisting in the wind.
With the dead reporter.
It's because he was a anti-abortion Democrat. I mean, there was some questionable policy issues that progressives had with that guy. But I mean, again, he's in Montana, so you have to take it for what it's worth. But
there's a lot of anti-abortion Democrats.
But I mean, progressives shouldn't support those people, right? I mean. For the
but are you talking about the progressives being a whole new party, or are you talking about the progressive side of the Democratic Party? Because
progressive-minded people, whether or not they're Democratic or independent, people who have, liberal. I still use the term liberal, so I mean, I'm fine with that. But liberal people, right? If obviously that wouldn't go in San Francisco. You couldn't have a pro-abortion Democrat. And it's I guess it's you have to weigh it, but that's not the liberal or progressive position to be for abortion.
So, kind of getting back on topic here, are the three of us in agreement that no matter what we're talking about right now, the DNC needs to get Pelosi out of there, and we need better leadership. And it's not about age. I mean, I'm sure Bernie's older than Pelosi is.
Well, I would like to see the alternatives to Pelosi first, because there might be rules about the most senior person in the party.
I think they run. I think it's like a party kind of like just like all the applicable members vote on it. I'm pretty sure.
And then we got to worry about being disappointed.
Well, yeah, because that guy did run against Pelosi. Yeah, well, that guy did run against Pelosi. I just remember that now, and he didn't win. But see, that's again. I would like to see who the alternatives are to her, because I don't think Pelosi is as important. I think the leader of the DNC, the platform, and then the next presidential candidate is going to be the most important.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Tom Perez's performance since he took over as DNC chair. But I don't know. I mean, they're just not fucking getting it. And the problem is the longer they take to get it, I think people are going to be even more desperate in 2020 after being exhausted after a Trump presidency for 4 years, that I think the likelihood that we enter a burn or bust type situation again is going to continue to get more and more likely unless they change their fucking leadership and change their platform and the fucking groups of people that they are trying to pay attention to. If they do not do that, we may get fucked again, and we may not end up with President Trump, but we may end up with President Pence.
Right. Yeah.
They got to get their fucking act together.
Yeah.
Oh man. So would you guys like me to give you some things we can laugh about now?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe a few.
Sounds good.
Would you like? I'll give you an option. It's more of a potpourri of information here. Would you like a couple phrases, sayings, common sayings that we are getting wrong, or would you like some scary belief statistics of the United States?
I vote both. Run through them.
You vote.
I think we're probably, let's do the phrases today. I think we're quite a bit over, to be honest.
Yeah, we are. I'm not going to get to my giant dick today. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'll tell you what.
As
soon as we're done with your phrases, we'll end this show, and then I'll just load up giant dick separately.
There you go.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So first phrase here, carpe diem. We have all heard this.
Seize the day.
Seize the day.
Okay.
What does that mean? What do you think that means?
Take opportunities. Grab life by the horns.
Grab it by the pussy.
Grab it right by the pussy.
So a lot of people will tell you like the modern version of it is YOLO. You only live once, right? The thing is that carpe diem was actually part of a longer phrase that roughly translates to seize the day, trust as little as possible in the future. So basically, the phrase is about procrastination. Instead of putting off things that will help you in the future, you should get them done now. And that's a little different from YOLO.
Who said a degree in Latin would be worthless?
yeah, right. Okay, and then my second one here, blood is thicker than water. So what's that one?
I love this one.
What do you guys think?
You told me this one the other day. I like this, and it speaks
Okay,
a
so
lot
Alex,
to my way of life.
Alex, what is blood is thicker than water?
The way I've always kind of perceived it is, people that are your family, you have a connection with, because you have the same blood.
So the bond of family is stronger than not family?
Yeah, not family, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's 100% wrong. Sorry. No, actually, it comes from. There's two different sources on this. One says Roman, one says Middle Eastern. I suppose they're kind of close to each other, so could come out of the same thing. But what it actually means is the bond of blood brotherhood of friends who share blood in battle. That bond is stronger than the water of the womb.
Huh.
So the brotherhood that you gain in battle from your soldiers, your compatriots, that is stronger than the bond of brotherhood at home. So that's actually what it means. So when people are saying blood's thicker than water, they're getting it wrong.
Interesting.
So some quick numbers. Do you want to do those?
Let's go ahead and conclude it. We'll save those for next time.
All right, we'll do that next time. One more thing before we go. GoFundMe, Patreon.
Yeah. GoFundMe and Patreon. Like we said, you can find the Patreon link on our Facebook page, and you can find the link straight to the GoFundMe app, or GoFundMe campaign, rather, on the website, aorpodcast.com. Nick is taking over our social media, so we've been way more active than we were when I was doing it. So follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast and the Age of Reason page on Facebook. And once again, everything else is on AORpodcast.com. We are off next week for the 4th of July, which will be my least patriotic 4th of July I've ever had. I don't know about you two, but we will be back the following weekend. So again, don't forget about the contest. Send in any drawings you have for suggestions for our logo. We will post every entry on Facebook, and we have an award for whoever gives us the idea that we end up taking. Send it to the Age of Reason PC at gmail.com, or use the contact us page on the Age of Reason podcast website. So we will see you guys in a few weeks.